Welcome. Oh, flip the camera around. Hello. Welcome everyone to our fourth FLC Alumni Together video. This time we're up on campus in the biology wing, checking out the greenhouse, and then the animal room downstairs. We're going to see some of the cool animals and plants that we have here on campus. We're joined by, flip my camera around, FLC alumna Kami Parrish-Larson, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to her now.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I feel like I'm get to hang out in all the cool spaces when nobody's here. Sorry you can't be here, wish you could. Really missing all my little science campers. So sad that I don't get to see you all this year. But anyway, here we are in the lovely greenhouse space that we have. When I graduated in 1998, we did not have a greenhouse of this size. We had a small solar heated greenhouse, which was great for what it was, but this is so much grander. But of course, we'd like to kick that up a notch. So if there's a wealthy alum out there, talk to me and we could build a freestanding, really huge, cool greenhouse on the roof or something. I would love that. So Dr. Ross McCauley is our botanist, and you can see he has gone out of his way to have everything labeled perfectly. Ross is like a walking encyclopedia for botany, and he really had some trouble putting some common names on these. Most of us would have to look up the Latin name, but Ross had to look up a common name because he's such a super nerd, but we love him anyway. So I have to give full credit for as good as this greenhouse looks to recent alum of last year, Emily Swindell. She is the reason that this is as fantastic as it is. She did all kinds of work to get everything going up and above and propagating plants and classifying everything together and doing such good work. So we have some shade lovers and ferns over here in the back. This lovely tall plant right here, if you look up, this one's actually back pollinated. So when it blooms, the blooms are about this big, open up, and you walk in here and the perfume is just staggering in the evenings. Doesn't smell a thing in the day because of course the bat's going to be out. So we nicknamed him Bruno because his real name is really long. But we love this guy. Some of the other cool stuff we have, we've been really fortunate to have quite a few donations of plants. We have some Spanish moss here, which is a bit of a challenge in Southwest Colorado to keep it going. But it manages as long as we keep it watered every day. Of course, jade plants, most people have those. This one is really, really old. I don't know where exactly it came from, but when you see the size and the stalk of this, you know that this is a plant that's seen some stuff. So, I won't say it right. It's a croton, and this came from FLC Emeritus Professor Preston Summers, who taught up here for about 30 years and actually was one of my faculty. And he travels back and forth between Durango and North Carolina, so he gifted us this, and it has loved it. So over here, we have a whole bunch of succulents and cactus. And a lot of the succulents have been around since I was a student. Dr. Jameson did a lot of work with a bunch of cacti and succulents. That was a lot of what would grow really well in our other greenhouse, just because it would have a tendency to overheat. So again, we could use a fancy, big, really cool greenhouse. Dr. Cortez Palomic, she also is a botanist. She's one of our senior lecturer professors, and she is an amazing plant guru as well. So she and Ross both utilize this space a lot. You'll see some of the plants that have these blue tags. This was left over from a Bio 106 class. And so for Bio 106, they would come in here, they'd also go outside. And there are different characteristics, all these plants that students would then learn. So that's why this is such a great resource to have. We can have hands-on experience. There's just nothing quite like being able to see this leaf up close and in person, to see the veins on the back, to be able to see the serrations. You just can't see that as much through Ian's camera right now as you can if you were live here in person with me. So really great resource to have, and just a beautiful space to be in. one of my favorite places to hang out when I need a little downtime in the wintertime. It's just kind of magic in here. So any questions that you have about this space, Ian?
No. Any of our viewers have any questions? If you do, feel free to put them in chat, and I will. Oh, looks like we do have one in chat. Oh, no, that was Krista. Nope, we're set.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, let's head on downstairs where we can really check some stuff out.
And we will say that we know that there will be about a minute where the screen will cut out while they go downstairs. So hang with us.
Thank you. Yeah, the phone jumps between routers as we run through Burnt.
It's on the left.
Yeah. Yeah, the botany lab. Spent a lot of time in here.
Anyone on this call a bio major or visited those classrooms while you were at FLC? Go ahead and put that in chat.
This might be new for some of you. A little fish tank. Probably.
Nice. We have a social science major that joined us today. That's awesome. Jacob, I also was not a bio major, so you're not alone.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and pause and make sure y'all can still hear us. Is that the case, Krista? If you can just chime in and say so.
Yes, the video looks great and I can hear Ian really well.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the Animal Room, one of the favorite places for all campus tours to come. We have a whole selection of animals in here. We use them to teach students animal diversity and for students to get a chance to hold animals they likely wouldn't hold or be up next to in regular setting. So just because I love them so much, we're going to start with cockroaches. So this is our little Madagascar hissing cockroach. And before people freak out, they actually get a little bigger than this, but they don't fly. It's not going to run up my arm. They can't, even in Madagascar, get into huge numbers. They just kind of hang out and do their thing. They're a great classroom pet. I set them up as classroom pets for many schools around because if you can get kids to love these guys, and look at that face. So that's his real face. Then they're less likely to squish everything else.
Oh,
Who doesn't want a couple of those? Go ahead and put it in the chat. I can mail one to you.
they're so cute. Yeah. Yeah, just send us your address and we'll email you a couple of cockroaches.
Yes. Who doesn't want one? Come on.
Oh my gosh, that is so startling.
We won't seriously mail you cockroaches, just to have that on the record.
No, I don't like to share that much. So, over here, we will start with our smallest snake. And oftentimes, everyone's favorite snake.
Stumpy's my favorite.
So this is Stumpy. He's a little Western garter snake. Very typical of what you would see on any of the trails around Durango, in your yard in Durango, or anywhere pretty much in the West. His name is Stumpy because he's missing a whole section of his tail. His tail should come to a point. And Derek Huey, who wants to see this recorded later because he couldn't come today, who's working on his PhD at NAU in Flagstaff, rescued him on a field trip and was sure that he would not be able to make it on his own. And I thought for sure that it was a bad idea to have him in here because most of the time garter snakes need to be handled and will pee on you right away or musk on you. And Stumpy has proven me wrong on every count. He really does not mind being handled at all. We call him our starter garter. So for anyone who is nervous about handling snakes, Stumpy is not intimidating. And as you can see, he's very, very comfortable.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
Hi, buddy. Awesome.
He wins everybody.
Yeah, he's so cute.
He is adorable. And so all of our snakes in here are constrictors, which means they grasp their prey and wrap it up tight and suffocate it. Stumpy would be the exception. He actually has a little bit of venom. They have rear-facing fangs. And so garter snakes do have a little venom, but he would have to get that little tiny mouth on me, which would be difficult, and sit there and just rock back and forth to ever get any venom or enough venom for my system to even register it. So, and most garter snakes, if you picked one up in the wild, first thing it's going to do is pee on you. They really don't want to bite you because they realize that you're much too big to really be effective against. So admire them from afar, and when you need a little garter snake fix, come see me. Because he is just too cute for words.
Yeah. Bye, buddy. And how old is Stumpy?
You
About.
know, we don't know how old he was when we got him. We do know he's full grown. We know he's a male, basically by his size. Typically male snakes are much smaller than females because they don't have to carry eggs. Derek graduated 4 years ago, so we've had him for at least 6, possibly 7 years. So he's probably at least 10.
Wow.
But I don't know for sure. Our next one up is Amaryllis. She's a corn snake, and we got her from the Reptile Rescue up in further north in Colorado. And this is where I tell you that reptiles don't make great pets, simply because most people are not prepared for the work. They think, oh, I'll just get a snake and I never have to do too much. But they live for a long time. They need a good enclosure. They need heat lamps. And it's really a one-sided relationship. Given the choice, every single reptile in here would go live somewhere that I am not. Even though they, I like to think they like me, but they probably won't tolerate me. And so it's kind of one-sided, and doesn't mean you can't be a really good reptile parent. But a lot of people get the cute little corn snake. You'll see these guys. You can see how big she is. They'll see them in the pet store. They're about the size of a pencil, often brightly colored. And they think, oh, what an adorable little snake. I want to have one of those, without thinking about it getting to this size. So, and there's not a snake out there that's going to eat a salad for you. So you're going to have to be able to feed it live prey or kill the prey for it and feed it that way, which a lot of people aren't prepared to do. But you don't want to see a snake starve to death either. Oh, look at that. Want a camera hog? Go, Amaryllis.
Oh, hello. Coming to say hi to me.
Sorry. So this is very typical of corn snakes. They are really gregarious. They like to be out and about. So when we have Amaryllis out, I try not to have her out if people are really tentative about snakes, just because she is not a respecter of personal space. And so she might get in your hair or go up your sleeve or go down your collar or something like that. I'd like to point out her beautiful underbelly. So you can see the scales here on her belly, that she would use to crawl and move along the ground, are much wider and broader. And it looks like mosaic. She is just a really, really gorgeous snake. So compare that to the scales here that are much smaller, that are on her back, that aren't required for movement. And so you're probably noticing this little fatty chunk on her. And she actually just has a little fatty tumor there. It's not that she just ate and she needs to use the bathroom. She has this little fatty tumor. We've had it biopsied by Durango Animal Hospital, and it was nothing to be concerned about. And my brother is also a vet, and so I had him check her out when he was here, and he's the one that told me it was very likely a fatty tumor. And so if you ever watch Dr. Pimple Popper, you know what a fatty tumor is like. It's a lipoma. So as you can see, these guys are really missing the students. She's like, finally, I'm out and I get to see somebody. Everybody would like the students to come back, including our snakes, including all the animals in the animal room. They miss you guys. PJ, Austin, all my animal room kids, Anna, Jay, all you guys, we would love to have you back. Hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Kami, on average per day, how often do you say that these animals get student interaction?
During the school year, probably at least daily. There's always, we have students in here every single day. Now they may not get them out every day, but there's interaction. There's something going on for them to come out and observe and see. And sometimes once they've eaten, a lot of times they want to just sleep it off for a day or two. But you can see she really enjoys being out and about. So sometimes our students will come and just, put them around their neck, let them hang out, sit over here and do a little homework. The snakes really enjoy, well, I can't say that they enjoy because I don't speak snake, but it seems like they enjoy a little companionship. And of course, the back of your neck is really warm, so they like hanging out.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to another.
Yeah. So, and how long have we had Amaryllis?
We've had Amaryllis for probably about 6 years now. And she had been in foster care from Reptile Rescue for 2 years prior to that. So I don't know how old she was. So I would say this, if you decide that you really do need a snake as a pet or reptile as a pet, please go through one of the adoption agencies. There are so many pets that people have realized they couldn't handle, and then they go into this reptile rescue. So great way to take care of a snake that needs a home. So any of our moms that might be watching this today, you will recognize Monty. Monty boy. So Monty's our old man. He's about 45 years old. He was here when I was a student way back when, and he's a ball python. Dr. Hammond down at Durango Animal Hospital, which again, they do a great job helping us out with our animals. They, since they're education animals, they only charge us for medicines if we need them, and they help us out all the time. Dr. Rottinghouse, who is now a Bayfield Animal, also has been wonderful with our animals. But Dr. Hammond said that if he truly is 45, that he is the oldest ball python that he's seen in captivity. We don't really know what end of life will look like for him. Because I asked him, I said, so how am I going to know? It's going to be such a horrible day if Monty passes. But being 45, it could happen at any time, but his appetite's still good. He just had a couple of nights day before yesterday. I'll probably feed him again today after we're all done. He has a little trouble keeping on weight now that he's older. You can see his spine is right here. He's doing okay, but I'd like him to be a little chunkier right there. You'll see chunky when I show you one of the other pythons. So again, he's a rather large snake. Ball pythons they're really common pet because they're really docile. He is maximum size, and they're just really mellow. People love them, and I have 2- and 3-year-old kids that hold Monty, and he's always just really sweet. And so I would hope that people would realize from this that snakes are not to be feared at all. You can see if you are calm and gentle with them, they're going to be just fine being handled. Now, a wild snake is going to be a little more upset, so you don't go and pick up a snake in the wild and expect the same results as this. But hopefully people can see that snakes are not, they don't deserve the reputation that they have. And Monty's such a sweetie. Everybody falls in love with Monty.
45.
45.
Hi, buddy. Cool.
Yeah.
And then, so Mojave and Isabel are pictured together because they are siblings.
Yes, they were actually clutch. So a batch of egg snakes is called a clutch, and they were actually clutch mates. So Greg Noisome is one of our HVAC guys on campus, and he has loaned these two snakes to us because Isabel is leucistic, so you can see how she's white. So these two snakes are also ball pythons, exactly the same as Monty, but they have a little different coloration. Because ball pythons are so popular as pet store pets, the breeders have bred them for many, many, many different colors and patterns on them. They call it the morph. And so Mojave is a Mojave morph. He's slightly different than what you saw with Monty. So this is Mojave. So for anyone that recalls when we had a little bit of a snake escape a few summers ago, it was Mojave. This little angelic face is the one that gave everybody a little run around trying to find him. Again, you can see it's super mellow. And you'll notice on our cages that we have rocks and heavy objects on the top. These snakes, even though they're perfectly content, they get fed on a regular basis. They have everything that they would need. They test the lids every single night. And so all it takes is one time of somebody not quite paying attention, and they'll be out. And that's what happened with Mojave. Monty escaped once as well. For whatever reason, they like to find their way over to the sinks and get on the pipes under the sink. So now we know where they go. And so these two are only probably 4 years old. We got them when they were pretty small. And again, you'll see the difference. So Mojave and Isabel, who you'll see next, are the same age, same clutch, born same time. She is definitely much larger since she's
Very cool. Yeah, I remember reading an Albuquerque journal, picked up that story when Mojave got out and mixed up the quotation and the apostrophe and said 18-foot python loose on Fort Lewis College campus.
Yeah.
Well, close.
Like we could really lose an 18-foot. I mean, come on.
Right.
And just for everyone's concern, there is no way that they can actually get out of this room. Okay? If you close up on that door, they cannot squeeze that small to get under the door.
Nah, snakes aren't that little.
Even Stumpy.
Not even Stumpy.
Not even. So, just make sure that you can't get back out.
Let's pause there too to see if anyone has questions so far.
Yeah.
Feel free to write in the chat. Okay, it looks like there are no questions so far, but please feel free to use that at any time. We'll stop and answer your questions.
All right, this is Isabel. So Isabel is leucistic, which means she's got a genetic mutation. So she is not, it's not albino, it's not the same as that. If she was albino, she would have none of this yellow color and her eyes would be red. So she's called a blue-eyed leucistic. I'll get her face around here in just a second. You can see her beautiful blue eyes.
Camera shot. Focus.
I'll turn it around.
Yeah. There we go.
So these are extremely popular and expensive snakes, just because they're so unusual. And so it's interesting to note how people react to her. So some people are completely unhinged by her, that aren't really bothered by other snakes. And some people find her much less intimidating than the other morphs. And so it'd be interesting to see the psychology behind that.
Yeah.
As you can see, she is much, much heavier than Mojave, her brother. She's always been a champion eater all the way through. And she's just super mellow. It took me a little bit to get her to warm up to me. She used to be a little bit afraid of me when we first got her. But as you can see, now we're buddies. So cute information on her name. So they're called blue-eyed leucistics, or they call them bells for short. And so Greg's daughter said, well, she is a bell, so we should call her Isabel. So that's how she got Isabel as a name.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're really fortunate to have her, because if we were to purchase a snake like this, she's probably $1,000, $1,200 snake, especially since she's breeding age.
Wow.
So thank you, Greg, for letting us have her on loan.
Thank you, Greg. So, Kami, are any of these snakes ever used for research or anything like that?
No, these snakes are basically biology pets, and we use them for classes. They go into probably some semesters, they'll go into 5 or 6 different classrooms during a semester. And so, say last semester we had 4 sections of Bio 110, which is biology for non-majors. So they would go into every section of that. They'll go into Bio 106. We had 9 sections or 5 or 6 sections of that. So that's 9 classes there. Often they'll go into conservation bio and some of the other classes as well. So these guys get a lot of handling during the school year by a whole room full of students. And we have a lot of breakthrough moments with these snakes. I joke that they're the most photographed snakes in the 4-state area. Because students who have never handled a snake before will hold them and they'll be like, oh my gosh, take a picture, I gotta send it to my mom. My mom's not gonna believe what I did in class today. And you know, most parents are receptive to it. My mom, when I sent her pictures of my kids with the snakes, she says she's gonna call social services. But she's accepted that I'm not like the rest of her children that don't that are a little less loving of the reptiles. So, I mean, how could you not like that?
Look at her little face. Cool. And this is like the snake room.
Yes, and we actually have them separated like this for a reason. So some of our native students have very strong taboos about being around snakes. And so by having all of our snakes over here, they can still come and participate in other areas of the animal room without having to worry about those cultural taboos. And that doesn't put them at, crossways with their traditions. So we always try to be really sensitive to that. And, there are just some people that are completely unhinged by snakes.
Yeah.
My husband being one. So,
Mike.
yeah, he won't be able to watch this video, so we can say anything we want about him because he couldn't look at this and not lose his mind. So.
Oh, for sure. When we first started coming down here, I definitely had like the freak out moment, even though seeing it on screen. But now that we've seen them and how docile they are, I'm like less freaked out, but it got me too.
So you're saying that you would like to come see them in person. I do it, Kristen, no problem.
Yeah.
We can set that up for you. Over here, we have a super adorable little leopard gecko. Okay, Benny. So this is Benny. And Benny is actually belongs to one of our students that tried to sneak him into the dorms and got caught. So, and she was going to take him home at the end of the semester, and then COVID happened. So Benny's living with us temporarily. And are there cuter toes? I ask you, really? Look at those.
Adorable.
They are. So we also have another leopard gecko. I think I can get him both at the same time. Careful. So this is Senora. She's much, much older, and you can see how kind of white and opaque she almost is right now. She is getting really close to a shed. And so she's going to shed all of that skin off. Benny is much younger, and he is much more yellow than most of the leopard geckos that I've seen. But you can see they're both super sweet. Senora is a little bit older. When we first got her, her name was Senor. That was the name she came with. And then one day, there were a whole bunch of eggs in her cage. So we had to regroup. We had to regroup on her name. So all of the reptiles, so all the snakes and lizards molt all the way through their lives. So they'll continually molt, even though Monty's 45 and basically full grown. He still sheds that skin every 6-ish weeks or so. With the one big difference that you can see between the geckos versus the snakes. So you can see on the side of Senora's head right here, you can see that she has ears and they have eyelids. You can see these guys blink. And I should have pointed it out when we had one of the snakes out. They don't have ears and they don't have eyelids. So that's one way to differentiate between snakes and lizards. And I tell you that because my next character is going to throw you off a little bit.
Yeah.
We actually have a legless lizard. She's getting older, so I have to be super sweet with her.
And Liz says that this is wonderful.
Hey, Liz.
Oh
Do
man,
you have a name?
Liz, I feel so bad. My last name's Fullenwider and people mess it up all the time. Von Tofkerchen.
Hello, Liz. And I hope your son Porter's watching.
Man, makes Fullenwider sound easy.
Yes, Liz is one of our fabulous librarians over at Bayfield Public Library.
Oh, cool.
Bayfield River Library. And she's also a It'll take me just a second to find you.
Kami, Liz did say, and it's true, it is harder to hear you when you do face away from the camera.
Okay.
Which is hard because you're grabbing stuff out.
Okay. I'm going to find Lou, so I'm going to step out of view for a second.
Cool. So Lou is an interesting character. He's known for being a little grumpy, and I took a class in here one time to show them when I was TAing Bio 106, and I looked all over for him. His enclosure was over here. He's digging around, and usually he rustles, and you can sort of tell where he is because he doesn't want to be disturbed, and then he goes to move away. Like Kami's doing now, and one of the students was standing back by this door, and he points over at that sink over there. He's like, "Is that him?" And Lou is just sitting in a bucket right over there, just his little face poking out. And yeah. Oh.
Come on, Captain Cranky. It's gonna make it hard.
Captain Cranky. Oh.
All right. So this is Lou. He is our legless lizard. And as you can see, he does have eyelids and he does have ears and no legs. So people often confuse them with snakes. But if you look at this theme right down his side, so where that ends, that designates body versus tail. And so lizards typically are more body than tail, and snakes are more tail than body. Lou, they're also called glass snakes. And obviously he doesn't warm up to me quite as much as the others. He's also strictly a carnivore, just like the snakes are. He's not as flexible. He's pretty flexible, but he can't tie himself in a knot like this. It looks like the snakes are doing. Again, he just ate yesterday and the day before, so he's really wanting to just go sleep it off. But he's pretty special. And a couple years ago, maybe might even be as long as 6 or 7 years ago, and this is his method of trying to get away from a predator.
That's the barrel roll.
Is the barrel roll. They actually discovered 3 or 4 new species of legless lizards when they were doing some expansion of the LAX airport. As you can imagine, that is where they found new species. That's kind of crazy. Work on that ear, everybody? Probably not. He's just got a little bit of skin right there in his ear. I'd like to get off of him, but I may have to wait and do that another time. So we try not to handle him too much just because it's so stressful for him.
As soon as his face is under a leaf, he's happy again.
Yeah, and sometimes he'll just close his eyes like, oh, he just made this all go away when he really doesn't want to be here.
Oh, poor guy. Master Grump.
Well, and you would think that we wouldn't need a top on this cage because you'd think he can't get out of here, but he can push with that tail and push himself right out. So our wonderful guys at the carpenter shop built this lid for us. So we've got something better. So I'm going to go right back behind you here because we have some super adorable pinkies in here. You guys. So these guys, this is a baby mouse. And so this was born yesterday. And so they're hairless and sightless. They're like typical mammals, just like your cat or your dog. And you have to wait for their eyes to open when they're little. And they'll be able to leave their parents in less than 3 weeks. So the mice, if you've ever wondered why there's so many mice in the world, they can reproduce every 3 weeks like clockwork. So every 3 weeks they can have a new litter of pups. And they're called pups with mice.
Oh,
but
crazy.
Isn't that just the cutest thing? And then there's actually another litter in here. So mice are super social. So we typically have 2 females with 1 male. And they will just put all the pups in a pile, even though they're not the same age. And then the females trade off taking care of them. So this one was born on the 13th. So a couple weeks old. Just starting to get his hair. You can see that sheen of white. Its eyes will open here in the next couple of days. Still pretty helpless though.
Oh.
Never thought mice were so cute, did you? I know. And so, of course, well, we can do that. Oh, here you go, Papa. So this is the male. This is Papa for all of those guys. And I'm holding his tail just so he doesn't get silly and jump off my hand. And if you see him pee on me or poop on me, it's certainly not the first time. So don't worry about that. I'm not worried about it. We have to just hold on to him by his tail because they don't have depth perception. They don't understand that, hey, that would really hurt me if I fell. So I'll go ahead and put him back. He's getting a little stressed out about it. We put paper towels, and I have all my friends and family saving cardboard tubes from their toilet paper rolls and paper towels because it makes great homes for our little mice. So you're probably wondering where all these mice go. And yes, indeed, many of these mice will be snake food. In fact, the majority of these mice will be snake food and lizard food. We do some projects with mice. So we also have black mice. We have a white strain of mice and we have a black strain of mice. Different mice are used for different types of research. So this one will become a black mouse, also born yesterday. Always so interesting that their eyes are so dark. So these guys are called black sixes, and the others are valve C. And so if any of our faculty were going to do research and want to be able to publish it, they have to use a specific strain of mice for that research. So that's why we have black mice and also the white mice. Anybody else want to see that? You loved them. I know you did.
They're adorable.
So we have all these mice, and again, you know, we have to have food for our reptiles. And so there's one more pitch for why, unless you're really dedicated, reptiles don't make the best pets. As cute and adorable as these guys are, you have to be willing to feed that cute and adorable to something else, okay? But we give them an absolutely fabulous life. They get all organic food. They get all the food that they want. We change their cages a couple times a week. And do everything we can for enrichment so they have the best possible life before they become food for somebody else. We do a really cool experiment in the foraging ecology class where they take them out and then we'll put them in a cage by themselves and let them forage for different types of seeds. So buckwheat and peanuts and sunflower seeds and lentils and all sorts of different seeds and see what they have a preference for. And then they do all sorts of calculations. Ian, you should know which calculations, I can't recall. Anyways, a whole bunch of different calculations that can then be, those skills can then be translated to field work if you're working with a wild population. So a great way for students to get hands-on experience with some more mellow species than when you go outside and trap mice or trap other rodents. They're not as receptive to being handled. They're more likely to bite you. So these guys, super mellow. Again, kids handle them. I handle them all the time, obviously. I'm gonna wash a little poop off my hand.
Cool. Then there's a gecko that we have who hides somewhere in here, and to this day, I've never seen Gwen,
Oh.
except maybe once in passing.
Oh, I'll show you that.
See him right back there. I don't. Oh, oh yeah, he's right under there.
So, yes, I won't be handling the scorpion or the tarantula, just to be clear. So you can see he's black, but all scorpions glow in the dark. And we don't know why. It's kind of a cool little science fact that we have not been able to figure what the benefit is for these guys to glow under a black light. So it looks like he's made of clay when you shine the light on him. But you can see that, oh, I can't remember the fancy name for the stinger back there, but I don't want to trifle with that. Not to mention he could give me a heck of a good pinch with those claws up front. So he likes to hang out down here. We feed him crickets. Just a good observation animal of all the different, another kind of arthropod, different family. And my insects over there. I'm kind of an insect nerd. And so I always want to make sure that people understand the difference between insects and arachnids. Lane, are you out there? Can you answer that question for me? Hopefully Lane was able to.
Yeah, it looks like Lane is here.
All right, Lane, tell me the difference between insects and arachnids. I'm putting you on the spotlight.
And Lane, we unmuted you, I believe.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, So arachnids are like spiders, and they have 8 legs, I believe, and they only have like one abdomen or one body part, I believe. I know that arachnids have 8 legs, and
Right.
other insects not.
Right, so the arachnids have 2 body segments, the head and the abdomen, whereas the insects have 3, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And then you're right about the legs. And thanks for letting me put you on the spot, Lane. I figured I could.
Yeah.
Lane is one of my exceptions to the rule for being a reptile parent. He can handle it, and they will get all the love in the world. And I really want to come see your new beardie. So waiting for that
Oh
invitation.
yeah, she's pretty cute.
So this is one of our giant millipedes. I'm going to see if I can get him to warm up a little and see if I can get him to crawl around so you can see the cool way that they move their legs along. Let's see. Let me warm him up. Let me do the fast warm.
She's not squeezing him.
I'm not.
In the meantime, Kami, Krista asked how we know that, well, let me see exactly what it was. How do you ensure that none of the animals have diseases, and if they do, that they wouldn't transfer them to any other animals?
We try to be really careful about, we observe the animals multiple times a day. So we would be able to see any sort of behavioral changes. Reptiles tend to progress through a disease much, much more slowly than mammals do. And so by the time you can recognize something is wrong, they've probably been sick for a while. And so that's why we're checking them all the time. And we log their feeding, so we know if they're eating regularly, if they're shedding regularly. And those are some guidelines that we use for them. With the mice, it's usually a little easier to tell. They stop grooming. And so mice typically have that nice, I didn't think to point out their nice flat coat. Their hair is all uniform and nice and smooth. And if they're starting to feel sick, they look like they've got bedhead, except over their whole body. They
Right.
instantly start failing to groom very well. So then we know that there's something wrong there. And again, huge shout out to Durango Animal Hospital, because they've always been great. I can call up and say, hey, I've got this going on. Can we bring them in? And they usually can help us out. So a little bit uncooperative here, starting to relax a little bit. Maybe his buddy will be more so. More cooperative.
So what do these critters eat?
These guys are just detritivores. So they just like to eat decaying, rotten vegetation. So we put in there's a little remnants of peppers and apples and things in there. So basically whatever produce is starting to go south in my fridge. The millipedes love it, as do my cockroaches. If you give them really good fresh fruit, they just don't like it as much. They want it to be a little soft and a little bit on the downslope.
Picky.
Yes, they are picky. I don't know if these guys are going to cooperate for us today, but I'm going to hold them tight as that one poops on me.
Nice.
Just a little interesting note on poop. With an insect, it's called frass.
Frass.
Frass. How's
Lovely.
that for a nice, delicate word for poop?
Yeah. Scat and frass.
Scat, frass, poop. Feces kind of sounds a little.
Yeah,
little much.
yeah.
Frass sounds a lot.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
So that's your little learning point for today.
I'm going to mistake that for the French term for like seasoned meat that's left on the bottom of the pan when you the fond. Well, yeah, we've got a lovely frass.
Let's not mix those up. That's probably not good.
No. And Lane asks if we keep roaches. Yes, Lane, we right at the beginning of this showed some of these giant cockroaches here, hissing cockroaches from Madagascar. They are very friendly, very sweet. I think they're pretty adorable. I have heard them hiss before. Do they do that a lot, Kami?
They don't. And it's kind of, it seems crazy to say that they have personalities, but they really do. And some are just more hissy than others. And if they've been getting a lot of handling, they're less likely to hiss. It's like, okay, I hissed last time, she wouldn't go away, so I won't waste my energy. She's gonna pick me up anyway. So you just never know with those guys. And some of them, you know, you walk past the cage and they hiss at you. So you just never quite know. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, these guys are not gonna cooperate with us. Oh, maybe. Can make a liar out of me. It's okay.
Oh.
So these are not to be confused with centipedes. Millipedes only eat decaying vegetation. They're not predatory, whereas the centipedes are predatory. They chase down and catch insects and spiders and probably millipedes and other centipedes. And how cool are those legs? I mean, come on. How can you not love that?
Very cool. Yeah, I don't know how much detail is coming through for everyone on the other end of the call, but
We can see it. You're holding the camera perfectly.
beautiful. Look at that. So totally docile.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's kind of just mesmerizing. And you can almost, it's like, do I feel it? Do I feel it on my hand? Because they're
Yeah.
so light.
Yeah. Look at them. How many legs?
1 per segment or 2 per segment. So that's how they do it. It's
Oh, interesting.
2 per body segment.
And does
So,
that vary by individual sex or life stage?
probably by life stage, because
Okay.
they're going to progressively get a little bit bigger.
Sure. Interesting.
And so if this were a centipede, he would have 2 legs per 2 body segments, I believe. Don't quote me on that, Lane. And they have much longer antennae. And then they also have really distinctive mantles for grabbing their prey that can give you a nasty bite. So even our little tiny centipedes that you'll see in your garden, they're only, you know, 1.5 inches long. If they got you on the right spot, they could give you a little pinch.
Dang.
They're not going to want to. They're going to want to get away, but
Little face.
what's not to love?
Yeah.
What's not to love?
Very cool.
Yeah. And these are our relatively new tree frogs that you're seeing there. Did you find one?
Yes. Right here. If I open the door, will they jump out?
No, in fact, you can see
Oh.
they're not as jumpy as some of our others.
That, I do it right? Did it right.
We have 2.
Oh.
So frogs are amphibians, and they are much more susceptible to things going through their skin. So we have to be super careful, not handle them much. Any soap or oil or lotion or anything like that that would be on my hands would be super detrimental to these guys. So I've washed my hands and rinsed them about 65 times since we've been in here, washing off poop from other critters. So I feel comfortable letting him sit here. These guys eat a lot of crickets and just are in general adorable. Look at those toes. So they can climb right up this glass side with no trouble on those little toes.
Wow. Beautiful. And there's another one in there somewhere?
Yeah, there you go, right up here. There's a little hole right up there, and he likes to hang out in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there he is. And we have a newt that lives down in the bottom, but he is forever hiding out from me as well. Let's just see, since we're in here. Come out, but maybe not. he's not one that, it was totally an engine for me to pick him up. So.
Sure. And just so you know, you have about 5 minutes till
Uh-huh.
5.
Okay. And I thought, since we're going to have just a minute or two, if you wanted to go over to the specimen room and do a quick walk through the specimen room.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just for you can see all of our preserved specimens. I do myself a good break, just because everybody in here potentially carries salmonella. And I don't know.
No salmonella for us.
Yeah. Oh, yes, we can't forget Georgia.
No. Little box turtle. Or map turtle?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, box turtle. And then Blastoise is our map turtle. Yeah, Georgia's a little sweetheart. Loves to go swimming. That's why she has a gigantic pool and a little rock to help her get back out. Blastoise is fairly new, right?
Yes. He was another student had him as a pet and then graduated and couldn't take him away. So another reason why think before you get reptile.
Yeah. Yeah, Liz loves the name.
Yes, she was. And he came with that name. I didn't have to poke him on. So
Well, cool. Yeah, let's check out the specimen room. So give us some history on this on the walk over. That very short walk
the
over.
specimen room is where we have all of our preserved animals. A lot of these are from the 50s and early collections. This is how it used to be done, and things are just not collected like this anymore. This is a bear skeleton that a student way back when I was a student put together as a senior project. So, yeah, if you can imagine, that is how's that for a senior project? So that student did that. Some of these birds Dr. Ortega made have collected, but most of them have been here for a long time.
Wow.
Really fortunate to have collections of the magnitude that we do. Liz, this is for you because you might find a bobcat in your neighborhood. And porcupine, and beaver, and marmots, and coyote, or fox and coyote. And we have a full mountain lion pelt there. A whole bunch of other preserved animals there. And then these are some of our, there are insect boxes. And so students will use this to figure out the key identifiers for different species. And there's a real art and science to labeling and mounting these insects. And so all of these boxes right here, or these cases, are full of different insects, separated out according to order of insect. Yes, I love this section because I love bugs. More birds, and then over here, which is really amazing, a bunch of preserved snakes and other reptiles and fish. And Dr. Albert Spencer, who is, I believe, 94 now, Professor Emeritus, he had retired just before I was a student up here. And he came up 2 summers ago and helped us identify all these. So when biology moved from way down in the other side where physics and engineering is now, that's where biology was way back when I was a student. And he took all of these home with him to make sure that the collection wouldn't get lost. And then he kept it protected for many years. And then he brought it back up here. And then he's helped us go through and make sure everything is properly identified. And as much as an encyclopedia as Ross is about botany, Dr. Spencer is like 7 of those.
Yeah.
About everything science.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
I got to work on this project, moving them into new containers like these out of some of the old grape juice, and it's incredible how well preserved they are.
Right. And we're so lucky to have this. You have to get permits and everything for collecting now, which I completely agree with. I understand if everybody collected like this, we wouldn't have anything in the wild. So these were done years and years and years ago. And so it's a real treasure trove of data that we can have here. And we have, just a couple summers ago, actually, Parks and Wildlife came up and looked in some of our collections because we had some different species of fish that they needed to identify. The Dr. Preston Summers,
Interesting.
who retired, you know, quite a while ago, remembered was up here, and they were able to come up and use it as a reference collection.
Cool.
So kind of really cool. You have to be a super nerd to really love this stuff.
But we all are.
We are. I don't know if the lights can come on here.
Maybe.
Let me just run.
And we will go ahead and, oh boy, yeah. Yeah. And as we kind of wrap up here, if you have any questions about anything that we've seen so far, or any of the programs that biology students are working on now, or any of that stuff, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will answer them for you. Yeah, just a whole bunch. And a lot of these are used by intro bio students, correct?
Yes. So intro bio 106 will look at a lot of this. Obviously, mammalogy class will use a lot of these specimens. Dr. Ortega will have them comparing different bone structures and skull structures and animal form and function. Dr. Schwartz also does a lot with these. So all of this stuff is hugely important to our program. Again, any alum out there wants to donate to this, that would be awesome.
Subtle.
Yeah, I'm very subtle. These African lion skulls here were donated by Dr. Spencer, Dr. Albert Spencer, same one that helped us with the reptiles. And it was a former student of his that was working at a zoo that called him and said, hey, I've got some African lion skulls, would you want them? And so then he had them for a long time, and he gifted us with them. So I don't even know that you could buy such a thing. You might be able to buy a cast of one, but
Right.
to have actual, I think we have 5 or 6 of them. It's just crazy that we have that. And then we have this other wall that teaches, shows the different orders of animals. So we've got sponges and anemones and mollusca and all of these echinoderms and all these different orders. And this is all really critical intro bio stuff to understand the whole diversity of all these animals, and then pick out that niche that you want to go work in, and find your happy spot. But you need to understand the whole system before you can specialize. So.
Well, cool. Yeah, awesome little run through of
Yeah, sorry.
just some of the no worries. Some of the resources that we have for especially intro bio students. And it's mostly non-majors who end up getting to work with this, I would say. More non-majors than majors, just with how Bio 106 shakes out, right?
I don't know that it's most. There's a lot. There's a lot, because all of the bio majors are required to take 106. So anybody that's going into biology is going to take this, even if they're starting in molecular. So because we want them to understand the whole animal kingdom, and then if they want to specialize in cellular and molecular biology, which was my major, but I love all this stuff too. It's hard to specialize if you don't understand the big picture.
Right.
So,
well, cool.
Gotta have it all.
Awesome.
So come visit once we're not COVID crazy. Come up and visit. I'm happy to take anybody on a tour, and let you love up on the snakes and the cockroaches, and check out all these wonderful resources we have. And any of you alums, if Mike Purcell, if you're out there, you should have commented on something. because I know you know all the lizards. And Derek Huey, I know you're going to check this out later. So I'm glad you're almost done with your PhD. Anyway, come back and visit. Come back and talk to the students that we have. And current students, we miss you like crazy. Come back. The animals want to see you. So.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much to Kami. Thank you to Krista for helping us put this on as well. And thank you to everybody who hung around and watched. We'll go ahead and sit tight here for a second. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But otherwise, just go ahead and enjoy your days.
Yeah. I keep seeing it.
Yeah, Kami, this has been fascinating. Ian and I take turns on like who's kind of the moderator and who's posting on Twitter and Instagram. And I took about 1 million screenshots that I couldn't upload yet because I was frantically capturing them. But this is so much fun. And I'm surprised by myself, like how much I was smiling through the whole thing.
It's, you know, we're just so lucky to have all that we have over here. And it kind of gets tucked away and it's not on the main tours and things like that. So it's, I come in here and some people don't like the smell of formaldehyde. It's very comforting to me.
And Elaine, I see that you're still on. We'll unmute you if you want to say anything or, you know, you don't feel like you have to stick around, but we just want to give you the opportunity to you know, speak.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if you guys keep a specific kind of roaches. Do you guys keep dubia roaches?
You know, we don't. We have had them when we had them for projects, but they are a little contained and they can actually survive here for the state. So we usually just have the hissing cockroaches. They're a little easier to keep contained and they're easier to handle than the dubia roaches. Are you looking for lizard food?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the hissing cockroaches actually make excellent lizard food. So we used to have a skink, our blue-tongued skink named Skittles. And he, yes, rest his soul, he was 22 when he passed away.
Skittles.
But he loved to chase down little small hissers. So I'm happy to set you up with a colony, Lane.
That sounds good. Okay, thank you.
And that way you have, if you like.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Thank you.
Okay. That'd be awesome. I'll show you how to take care of them. We'll put you both in touch with me. We got it done.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. All righty. Well, then we'll go ahead and wrap that up there. Thank you, Kami.
Thanks, Ian. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has been great. And to everybody who watched the recording, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Kami, just to let you know, we even had someone